Hi, this is Tony from BesideTheFrontDoor.com, continuing my series on plants that thrive in that full-on sun, hot, dry areas. Now, if you've been finding this series helpful, please click like and subscribe and ask more questions below for other plants or other situations you'd like hear more plants that would work for you. Now, the Sedums and the Succulents are a great plant for your hot, dry areas, or even your containers that are not on automatic irrigation. They're in full sun and you just cannot seem to keep them watered even for a full day. Some things that you have to choose from are the Hens and Chicks, which have the typical hen in the middle of that crown, and the chicks are all of the little babies that get formed along the side. And with hot, dry areas, they will even start flowing over the pot. It'll take a couple years to flow way down, but luckily they are super winter hardy. And even though I normally do not recommend leaving plants in a container over the winter, if you're in a zone 5 or warmer, you can probably get away with it with Hens and Chicks. They are so tolerant, even their roots are very tolerant of that cold. You can get some wonderful upright sedums, like this is Elise's Gold sedum. It's just got its flower head started here. It's just budded. The flowers aren't open yet. It's been budded for a while, so you get a lot of interest and a lot of height. It's more difficult to find, I find, good succulents in to give some height for an area that's a succulent container. And it's got that magnificent variegated foliage, which gives some great color against all of the solid colors you'll find a lot of in the succulents. You'll find tall succulents in an all green, something like in Autumn Joy. Again, in the falls when you get that great color, but the rest of the time you have great full sun tolerant, can take quite a bit of drought foliage here. It's very thick and fleshy. That's where it's storing a lot of that moisture for the day. For some different shapes, there's also, this is called green spruce. Has a wonderful fine texture. It doesn't get very tall, spreads over. You can make wonderful pots mixed with the bold textures of the Hens and Chicks and some of the different colors with the Hens and Chicks and the greens. Embrace that foliage. You can get some great interest, some great color with just different color, different texture foliage, because this is considered foliage. And again, this is one of the Sedums, green spruce. Let me get a different Hens and Chicks for you. This one's called Silver King. You see it's much more of an all green, and you can see how the texture gives you some interest, but it was so much better of a combination mixing that red color with that green. It's who needs flowers when you have great foliage like this. Let me get another example for you here. This one is this one's called Purple Frost. It has a much bluer color to it. It has the same sort of foliage, but much bluer color. Again, combines, even with the same texture, you get some great color interest on there without having to use the flowers. And here is one called Angelina. It's usually a bit brighter yellow. We have it growing under a little bit of a shade cloth just for our comfort, so it grows fine with not being in that full-on hot sun, but you'll get a much more great golden color with little red tips on it out in that full-on sun, making great color. Here it is against the a green one. You can see a little bit more how the texture is a little different and that color is a little different. And here's a couple more that have a lot of interest. This one will spread like a ground cover for you. much more or drape over the sides of your containers. This one's called John Creech Sedum, and you can see how it just really throws that out there. You can see those small rosettes that it has. Again, a very different texture to put up against the different texture of this other sedum to give you a lot of interest in a container. Or like I said, you have a hot, dry spot up next to a walkway on the top of a retaining wall. These are great, and they'll spill over and soften the top of that wall. This one is another one of my favorites for containers because you kind of want to see it up close. This one's called Sedum lydium. Lydium, I'm sorry, I stumbled on getting that word out. See how fine and tiny the texture of those leaves are. Very, very fine, fine texture. It is great. I loved that texture against any of the other sedums. It just really adds some interest and some pop. So again, if you found this helpful, please click like and subscribe. And if there's any plants that you have questions about and want me to make a video about, please put it below. And I'll see you again next time. I wanted to give a shout out to the owner of Sun Valley Garden Center, Bryce Terzian. Thank you for letting me film here.